When people say that something has changed their lives, more often than not, it's usually not true, because the fact that you read a book and it was really good, or you learned something new and it was really good, you watched a video and it was really good, doesn't necessarily equate to that thing having changed your life, right? But then what I want to share with you in this video is something that has literally changed my life. And when I say changed my life, what do I mean by that? I mean that it is something that I have actively thought about and implemented in my life almost every single day for the past year and a half thereabout. And it is something that has informed a lot of the decisions that I've made, in that same time frame. So my hope or my objective with this video is that I share that thing with you, that lesson with you, and you can implement it in your own life, and maybe it changes your life too. And who knows, maybe it doesn't also change your life and you just learn something new from this video. So before I get into what exactly that thing is that has changed my life, about 2 years ago now, it's probably a bit more than that, maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, I was talking to a friend / mentor of mine, and one of the things that he said that really stuck with me is this statement. He said that it is impossible to make progress at something without tracking that thing. It is impossible to make progress at something without tracking that thing. And I think it is a statement that is very true and very interesting, having thought about it multiple times since we had that conversation. And maybe not impossible, but it is extremely difficult to make progress at something without tracking that thing. And if we want to bring it down to a practical level, right? If you look at a content creator, for example, how do you know if you're progressing as a content creator? You need to track it. And what are you going to use to track it? Most likely you'll be using the your likes, your followers, your subscribers. Those are the metrics that you would use to track and make sure that you're making progress towards your goal of being a better content creator, right? If engagement is up, more likely than not, you're getting closer to your goal of becoming a good or popular or whatever it is you want to be in that realm of being a content creator. Another example is if you were a teacher and your goal is to make sure that your students really understand the topic that you're trying to teach them. How do you know if they actually really understand the topic you're trying to teach them? I think there's different layers to this. The first thing is you need to have a vision, right? You need to firstly understand what exactly am I trying to achieve. And then second of all is, how do you know if you're achieving that thing? How do you track the metric, towards that goal that you're trying to achieve? And in this case of a teacher trying to make sure the students understand, you would administer tests or exams to them, and then you would check their grades or how they performed, yes, their grades on the tests and the exams, and it gives you a rough estimate to understand, how well you are being, they learn and they understand what it is that you're trying to teach them. And you can think of this in almost every single thing that you want to do, in almost every single area of life. If you want to make progress, it's impossible to make progress without tracking it. Another example which rings, which is something that has been top of mind for me in recent times, is spending less money. That's one of the things I'm trying to actively implement. I have a terrible spending habit and I'm trying to, curb that habit. So how do I make sure that I'm spending less money if I'm not tracking how much money I'm spending in the first place? It's almost impossible for me to reach that goal without tracking it, right? So I think I've made that point a bit clear. And after he told me this and we had that conversation, like I said, I have been thinking about it quite a number of times since that conversation. And one of the thoughts that came to my head is, if I'm trying to make progress at life in general, then how do I know if I'm moving forward? How do I track my progress in life, right? Since we've already established that it's almost impossible, it's difficult to make progress at something without tracking it, then how do I know if I'm making progress in life? And I want you to actually do some sort of like a thought experiment. Think about it. How do you know if you're making progress in life? It's weird, it's weird because we all want to grow, we all want to become better people, we want to progress in life. But then how do you actually know if you're progressing in life? Do you check your, the amount of money you have in your bank accounts? Do you check your followers on Instagram? Do you check, what else can you possibly check? But then how do you know fundamentally if you're making progress as life or not? And that was something that I thought about for quite a while before developing this framework that I'll be sharing with you in this video. Now, this was about, I think this was in April of 2023 when I eventually came up with this framework. But I was listening to a sermon by Apostle Selman, and he talked about the different areas of life. And as he talked about the different areas of life, it just made sense to me that if I'm going to be able to track my progress in life, I first have to figure out what are the different components of life, right? Like if I'm going to be able to track as a teacher my students' progress with understanding mathematics, I have to divide mathematics maybe into the different subsets of mathematics, calculus, I don't know, statistics, geometry, all the different areas, right? And the first step would be to divide life into the different areas of life, and then I can use that as a metric to see if I am progressing in life. So now let's move on to the actual framework, which is the Forest framework. This is a framework that I said I developed in April of 2023 thereabouts. And the Forest framework is an acronym for F being following your purpose, right? O is optimal health, your fitness. R is rich relationships, which involves like your romantic relationships, your friendships, your family. E is expanding your mind, which is your learning, your belief systems, limiting beliefs, all of that. S is spiritual growth, growing spiritually, your relationship with God. And T rather is, I almost say T there. T is thriving finances, right? Your savings, your investments, all of that, your financial life essentially. And this is the acronym or the framework that I use as a metric to track my life. Now, I'm not just going to leave it at that. I'm going to make it a bit more practical. Like, how do you actually implement this framework such that it translates from being just like head knowledge to something that can actually change your life? So I'll just be listing out a couple of the different ways in which I've been able to implement it, and hopefully, you're able to see how this works, and maybe you can try it by yourself in your own life. So the first area is in goal setting, how to actually use this framework. The first area is goal setting. A couple of days ago, my friend was over. I was hosting a friend, one of my very good friends, at home, and one of the things we decided to do was to set goals for the rest of the year. So for like September, October, November, and December, for the next 4 months of the year, we wanted to set goals. And I think most times when people want to set goals, what they do is they just select different things that are top of mind for them at that time. So right now I'm thinking about, I have schoolwork, so I want to do this at school. I'm also thinking about maybe traveling this year, so I add that to my list of goals, and you just select random goals. And while I think you're being one step ahead already by setting goals in the first place, I also think that there can be a better way to approach it, such that the goals you're setting are developed in such a way that once you achieve those goals, it holistically covers your life, and it makes sure that you're making progress holistically in all of the areas of your life. And how exactly do we do this? So to give you a more practical example, how did we do this, my friend and I? What we did was to pull out the Forest framework, right? So we said, since we've established that, first of all, you can't make progress without tracking, that's the first thing. And second of all, we need to establish the different areas of life which the Forest framework helps to do. So I start with following my purpose, right? Following my purpose, what I typically categorize under following my purpose is majorly the things that I have going on at that time in my life. So like my business or career, that's like how I define it, because you can get very like hyper specific with it and say what exactly is your purpose. If you've discovered your purpose in life, you can decide to use it that way. But in most cases, like most people haven't, you can just use your career, your business, I don't know, volunteer work, whatever it is that is work related in your life, right? You can use it for that category. So we decided, for following my purpose, what do I want to achieve by the end of this year? What would I like to have had or to have obtained by the end of this year? So I write it under that area. Then the next area of my life is optimal health, right? My health and my fitness. What would I like to have done? What would I like to have achieved by the end of this year in that area? Then I write it down there also. For my rich relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, family, what would I like to have achieved in that area? I write it down there. For expanding my mind, which is basically your learning, your belief systems, are there things that I want to have learned by the end of the year? Are there books that I want to have read? Are there courses that I want to have taken? Are there teachings that I want to have listened to by the end of the year? Then spiritual growth, is there a certain amount of chapters of the Bible or whatever it is that you want to have read by the end of the year? or whatever you use to categorize like spiritual growth. And then thriving finances, right? Is there a certain amount of money that I want to have saved up by the end of the year? Maybe I want to build up my investment portfolio to a particular amount by the end of the year. And I think where this makes it, where this becomes very useful is, I think the whole concept and what makes this very important and what makes this very, like I said, useful is the fact that it gives you a holistic covering and a holistic, somewhat of like a template or a metric to use, or a compass to use to direct your life and make sure that you're making progress in all of the areas of your life, right? So that's one area you can use it in goal setting. As I keep on giving like the remaining examples, hopefully it becomes a bit more clear and you get to understand exactly what I'm saying, right? The second area that I use it personally is in my to-do list. Now, like I said, this is similar to goal setting, but one of the things that most people do, first of all, I think everybody, I'm a big advocate for having to-do lists. I think everybody should have a to-do list. And what most people do when they are setting their to-do list or they are writing down the items on their to-do list is they just think off the top of their head, what are the things that are top of mind as of right now? I need to finish up that thing that I've been working on. I need to clear this place. I need to clean up my room. I need to do this. I need to do that. And that's definitely better than not having a to-do list in the first place, right? But what can be even better is by being very, very intentional and very strategic with the way you're developing your to-do lists, such that you're making progress in all of the areas of your life towards the vision it is that you have for yourself, right? And vision, one of the things I've implemented in like visions is having a vision document, which is something that I've planned another whole video about. But then if you're interested, I have a vision document in the description, my own vision, what I'm working towards for the next 3 years. Hopefully that gives you a bit of inspiration to maybe develop your own vision document or a vision board if you don't have one yet. But essentially what I was saying is that it gives you a holistic perspective to work towards what it is that you're trying to do in the first place, right? So for my to-do list, how I approach it is I just divide it into the 6 areas of the Forest framework. So I write, for following your purpose, what is one thing that I can do today, right, under this category of my purpose that would get me closer to the goal that I'm trying to work towards, or to the vision it is that I have for myself. So for example, let's say business is what is under the Forest framework. Maybe I want to, what is under the purpose aspect or the purpose category of the Forest framework for today. And then what I decide is, today I want to reach out to 5 prospects for following my purpose today to move my business forward. I put it there on my to-do list. Then for optimal health, what do I want to do today? Maybe I want to go to the gym today. I put it on my to-do list. For rich relationships, maybe I want to call a friend today. Name the friend that I want to call. Put it under there. For expanding my mind, I want to read a chapter of whatever book it is I'm reading. I put it under there. For spiritual growth, maybe I want to read my Bible and pray today. I put it on my to-do list. And then for my finances, maybe I want to not exceed my daily budget. I just put it on there. And then what I'm doing is, first of all, I write out the different areas of the Forest framework in my to-do list. Then after, I now think of the different mundane things that I had. Maybe I need to clean up this area, do this, do that. And then I add that to my to-do list. And what this does, like I said earlier, is that it ensures that you're making holistic progress towards the vision that it is that you have for your life, right? And I'm confident that by the end of the day, once I have ticked off all of the things on my to-do list, I am making progress towards the person that I want to become. And I know that in every single area of my life, I have made progress. So I'm no longer wondering, have I made progress in life? Am I making progress in my life? Am I not making progress in my life? Instead, I am strategically, intentionally designing the progress and, implementing the progress by myself by, first of all, discovering what are the different areas of my life, using the framework, and then writing something I can do every single day in each of those areas to move me closer to where I'm trying to be in those areas, right? So at the end of the day, I'm no longer wondering like, oh, did I make progress today or not? Am I becoming a better person or not? Am I moving towards where I want to be or not? I'm not wondering that because I already did it. There was something that, I hope I can remember this phrase, that somebody said regarding money, which is, I'm not wondering where my money went because I'm telling it where to go. And similar to this, it's like, I'm not wondering where my time went. I'm not wondering where my life went. I'm not wondering what I did with my life because I am intentionally, telling my life what to do. I don't know if that quotes necessarily translates, but you get the point, right? I'm being intentional about designing my day and designing my time and designing my life such that I'm making holistic progress towards the person that I'm trying to become. So at the end of the day, after designing my to-do list like this, and I've checked off the things in the different areas, I know that yes, today I made progress. And if you do that day after day after day after day after day, weeks, months, years on end, you're compounding that progress, and then you can be sure by using this framework as a template that you're going to make progress towards the person it is that you're trying to become. And it's not just in one area or two areas, it's holistic, it's covering all of the areas of your life, right? So that's another way in which I use it. Then the third way in which I use it, some of these are kind of like, as I keep on giving these examples, you will eventually get the trend and get the gist of the framework and how exactly to use it. But then the third way that I use it is in my weekly or monthly reviews, right? From time to time, I don't necessarily use like the same cadence of like weekly or monthly. It's more spontaneous in my in the way I personally use it. But if you do weekly reviews or monthly reviews, the way you would do this is, if I want to review my life this week or this month, and I'm like, okay, did I make progress towards becoming a better person? Am I progressing in life this month? Did I progress in life this month? How do you know if you progressed in life this month? You pull out the forest framework, divide it and journal on the different areas. For F, following your purpose. For my purpose, for what I consider to be my purpose for right now. For me personally, it is my work, and then this content thing that I'm doing, this YouTube thing that I'm doing. I pull out those two areas. For business and for YouTube, for work and for YouTube, I write it under the category of following your purpose. And then I analyze it. What progress did I make this month? And then I grade it a 1, 2, or 3, whatever grading system you want to use. Doesn't really matter as much, as long as you journal it out and you understand, you write out what progress you made in that particular area. So I write out for my business, for my YouTube, and that covers the area of following my purpose. Then I move on to O, which is optimal health. By the way, if you struggle to remember the different acronyms and then all of that, I have an article that I wrote in April of 2023 last year. I probably need to update it, but then there's an article in the description that you can read to give you a better understanding of the framework, right? So for optimal health, I write down for this month, how many times did I possibly, go to the gym, did I eat healthy, whatever it is that you want to do in that area. For my rich relationships, for my romantic relationship, for my friendships, for my family, how did I do this month, or how did I do this week? And then I grade it in those areas. For expanding my mind, for my learning, did I conquer certain belief systems that were not serving me? Did I learn something new? Did I take a new course? Did I read a new book? You journal it out under that area. Then for spiritual growth, what progress did I make spiritually? For your finances, how much was I able to save, spend, all of that? And then that way you're reviewing your life holistically and you're making sure that you're making progress. I keep on coming back to this point, and I feel like at this point it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse and saying the same thing over and over again. But then the whole essence of this, and where it has really changed my life and where it has really helped me a lot, is just giving me a yardstick for using to measure my life, or a metric, a compass that I can use to kind of like put my life, compare my life and contrast my life with, and check if I'm actually making progress or not, right? So that's another area that I use it for my reviews, right? I just divide my life into the different areas, and then most times what I do is I just journal dump and then write how much progress did I make in this area, what did I do there, and then I score myself. So now I can somewhat see my life from a third person point of view, and I can see, okay, that's one area that I didn't do too well, that's one area that I did well, that's one area that I'm doing very well, continue doing that, or stop doing this, you need to change that. And then I am more aware of the different areas of my life and how I can make progress in my life without being like all over the place and confused, and just taking life as it comes and hoping and praying that you will make progress in life and you get to where you're going. And one of the things that people say that kind of like doesn't make much sense to me is that eventually we'll get there. When you mention something and they're like, oh, we'll get there eventually, or like it will happen eventually, it's like, no, that's not how things work. Things don't just happen. You have to be intentional about making them happen. And then a part of being intentional about making things happen is firstly having a vision for what you want to even happen in the first place, and second of all, knowing how to track your progress. Because like we said initially, I'm saying the same thing over and over again at this point, but then it is impossible to make progress at something, to make progress towards something, without firstly tracking the thing in the first place, right? So that's another area that I use it. And then the fourth area that I use is, there's multiple ways I use this, to be honest, and you can kind of get creative with the framework. It's just as long as you have this basic understanding, then you can kind of like do whatever it is that you want with it. The fourth area is in setting up accountability systems. And I probably should make another video about this, just talking about how I'm thinking about building accountability systems in my life, especially since moving. But the way I think about the accountability systems is like, okay, I want to ensure that I am making progress in all the areas of my life. How can I set up accountability systems? I'm trying to look for a word that's not systems. Accountability, kind of like accountability. I can't think of another word. Anyways, how do I set up systems or structures in my life to make sure that I'm making progress towards these things and ensuring that I make progress towards these things? So first way I do that is just divide my life into the different areas using the framework again. So I say for my purpose, for my work, how do I set up an accountability system in this area? For my work, I set up an accountability system such that, maybe I'm paying somebody to check up on me, or I have a deal with one of my friends that if I don't complete this particular thing, I'll pay you this, and if you don't complete yours, you pay me that. So it gives me some form of accountability. In my fitness, which is something I recently did, I signed up to a gym, had to pay for the membership, and then I paid for a personal trainer also. So that way, that's an accountability system that I'm setting up in that area, such that, if I don't feel like going to the gym that day, I don't just get to make the decision of I don't feel like. First of all, I've already financially committed to that decision, and then second of all, I have somebody who's ringing up my phone and is like, guy, hope you are still showing up today, or like, what did you eat? Hope you're following the diet plan or the meal plan or whatever it is that you set up with the trainer. So I recently got a trainer, and that's like an accountability system that I've set up there. So in your relationships, in your reading, your learning, expanding your mind spiritually, maybe like a discipleship group or something, then financially, one of the things I did financially, or I have now, is that one of my friends, Richard, who is like a financial guru, he's really good with money. When it comes to saving, planning, investing, he's really good with money. So one of the things I do is I created a group chat with him where every day I send my expenses, because I'm trying to curb my expenses. Like I said, I just send what I spent that day. Oh, I spent this amount today, I spent that amount today, I spent that amount today. So when I'm about to spend money, what it does is that, I'm kind of like veering off topic right now, but what it does is that I remember, I'm going to have to send this to Richard later, and he's going to ask me, why did I spend this money on that particular thing? Why did I spend that on this particular thing? Was it necessary? Could I have done something? Was it necessary rather? So could I have done something else? So that's like an accountability system on its own. So this is one of the other areas in which I use the Forest framework. And I think that, like the name says, right, it's a framework. It's something that you can use in different areas, in different ways of thinking, as long as it has to do with progress, right? Making progress in life. It's a framework that you can always pull out and, use to divide and check the different areas of your life as a metric, as a KPI, to see if you're making progress or not. So that's essentially the framework in a nutshell, right? And one of the things that I've done, like I said earlier, is I've written a full-on article about this, how you can use the Forest framework, what exactly it is, how I use it to journal and all of that. It's in the description, the first link in the description, or one of the links in the description. The article is there. You can also subscribe to my newsletter there. And then also, if you would like to talk to me about this, I like to meet people, I want to network. That's one of the essences of that's one of the reasons for doing this. I want to meet a lot of people. If you're interested in talking, maybe like a 30-minute casual chat, I also have a link in the description. Just fill out the form and I'll reach out to you. We'll schedule a call and then we can talk about some of these things. If you're unclear about it and you want to maybe get my help in discovering some of these things, implementing it in your own life, and then maybe you have something that you want to share with me that you think is interesting, I'm also very open to learning from you guys also. So you can check that out in the description. There's a form for that also. And yeah, that's basically the Forest framework and how it has changed my life. I feel like this video was all over the place a bit, could have probably structured my thoughts better, but yeah, trying to get better at that, and hopefully in the next couple of videos, the videos will be a bit more coherent and it will make more sense. But then I have to keep doing the reps and keep getting better at it with time. So that's basically it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. I'm trying to just document the things I'm learning on the channel in one take without having to like cut the videos, which also makes it a bit more difficult because I have to just talk at once and try to make sense in like one stretch, which is very difficult. But then hopefully, like I said, you were able to learn something from this video. Drop a comment if you did. And yeah, let me know if you want me to make a video on something else, and I'll make sure to do that also. I'm rambling at this point and I need to end the video. I will see you inside of my next video. Peace. Peace.